The name tag read simply, Dorothy, welcome to Walmart, but it didn't tell the story of the woman who wore it. Dorothy Chen, 69, sat in the third row of the Tonight Show studio, her hands folded with the same precise composure she'd once used to manage portfolios worth hundreds of millions of dollars. For 20 years, she'd stood at the entrance of Walmart Supercenter, 4738 in Queens, greeting customers with a warm smile and a cheerful welcome to Walmart. What those customers didn't know was that they were being greeted by one of Wall Street's former legends. The small Walmart employee pin on her navy blue vest caught the studio lights as she shifted in her seat. 20 years ago, Dorothy would have been wearing $1,000 suits and sitting in corner offices overlooking Manhattan. Tonight, she was here as part of Walmart's Outstanding Employee Recognition Program, honored for 2 decades of perfect attendance and exceptional customer service ratings. What Dorothy didn't know was that someone from her past had been tracking her story for years, a former colleague who had watched in amazement as one of the most brilliant financial minds of the 1990s quietly disappeared from Wall Street only to resurface as the most beloved greeter in Queens. The Tonight Show had reached out after hearing whispers in financial circles about the Walmart greeter who used to run billion-dollar funds. Dorothy's story had begun with extraordinary promise. Born to Chinese immigrants who ran a small restaurant in Chinatown, she'd excelled in mathematics from an early age, earning a full scholarship to Columbia University, where she graduated summa cum laude with degrees in economics and finance. By 1985, she was working on Wall Street, and by 1995, she was managing over $800 million, 0 cents in assets, as a senior partner at Chen and Associates Investment Management, the firm she'd built from nothing into one of the most respected boutique investment companies in New York. Dorothy had been known for her uncanny ability to predict market movements, her meticulous research, and her unwavering ethical standards, in an industry often lacking both. She'd manage money for pension funds, endowments, and wealthy families, never losing sight of the fact that behind every portfolio were real people counting on her expertise to secure their futures. But 2008 had changed everything. The financial crisis that devastated markets worldwide had hit Dorothy's firm particularly hard. Despite her conservative investment strategies, the unprecedented market collapse wiped out nearly 60% of her clients' assets. While Dorothy had followed all regulations and made decisions based on sound financial principles, she felt personally responsible for every pension fund that was decimated, every retiree who saw their life savings evaporate, every family whose college fund disappeared. The lawsuits came next, not because Dorothy had done anything illegal, but because desperate people needed someone to blame for their losses. The legal fees and settlements consumed what remained of her firm's assets and her personal wealth. By 2009, Chen and Associates was bankrupt, and Dorothy found herself unemployed at 54, her reputation in tatters, her life savings gone. That's when she'd discovered Walmart. At first, it had been pure survival. She needed any job that would pay rent on a small apartment in Queens. The greeter position at the local Walmart paid minimum wage, but it came with health benefits and the dignity of honest work. Dorothy had planned to stay just long enough to get back on her feet financially, but something unexpected had happened. Standing at those entrance doors, welcoming families, doing their weekly shopping, helping elderly customers find what they needed, seeing the appreciation in people's eyes when she remembered their names and asked about their grandchildren, Dorothy had found a peace that 40 years of high-stakes finance had never provided. It was a Wednesday night taping in December, and Jimmy was in good spirits after interviewing a comedy duo about their holiday special. During his commercial break interaction with the audience, his attention was drawn to Dorothy by her perfect posture and the way she observed everything with the analytical gaze of someone accustomed to processing large amounts of information quickly. Ma'am, I see you're wearing a Walmart vest. Are you here representing the company tonight? Dorothy straightened with the same professional bearing she'd once brought to boardroom presentations. Yes, I work at the Walmart in Queens. I'm a greeter. Been there 20 years. They honored me for long service, and somehow that led to these tickets. A warm murmur went through the nearby audience members. 20 years at any job showed dedication, but there was something about Dorothy's articulate manner that suggested more complexity than her simple answer revealed. 20 years as a greeter? That's incredible dedication. What do you like about the work? Dorothy's face lit up with genuine warmth. People, really? You get to be the first person someone sees when they come in, sometimes the only friendly face they'll encounter all day. You'd be surprised how much difference a sincere hello can make in someone's day. It sounds like you really understand people. Well, you learn to read people quickly in that job. Someone rushing in at closing time probably needs something urgent. A family with young children needs directions to the restroom first, shopping second. An elderly person might need help reaching something or just want someone to chat with for a minute. It's about understanding what people need before they ask. Jimmy was struck by the sophistication of Dorothy's analysis. This wasn't just customer service wisdom. This was the kind of human insight that suggested deep intelligence and observational skills. Dorothy, forgive me, but you seem like someone who could do any job she wanted. Have you always worked in retail? Dorothy paused, as if deciding how much of her story to share. No, not always. I had a different kind of career before Walmart. What kind of career? I worked in finance, investment management. It was a long time ago. The casual way she said investment management caught Jimmy's attention. Most people who'd worked in finance emphasized their credentials. Dorothy's understatement suggested either modesty or pain around the subject. Jimmy made a decision that would change everything. Dorothy, I have a feeling there's more to your story. Would you mind coming down here and telling us about your finance background? Dorothy looked uncertain. Oh, I don't think people want to hear about old Wall Street stories. Trust me, I think they do. Come on down. As Dorothy made her way to the stage, her bearing transformed subtly, the confident stride of someone who'd once commanded rooms full of powerful people. When she reached the stage, Jimmy guided her to a comfortable chair. Ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy announced, this is Dorothy Chen. She's been a Walmart greeter for 20 years, but I suspect there's more to her story. Dorothy, tell us about your finance career. Dorothy settled into the chair and suddenly seemed more at ease, as if talking about finance was returning to familiar territory. I started on Wall Street in 1985, worked my way up to managing portfolios for institutional clients. By the 1990s, I was running my own firm, Chen and Associates Investment Management. We managed about $800 million in assets at our peak. The studio fell silent. The audience was processing what they'd just heard. A woman managing $800 million, 0 cents, was now greeting customers at Walmart. $800 million? Dorothy, that's enormous. What happened? How did you go from managing that kind of money to greeting customers? Dorothy's voice grew quieter, more personal. The financial crisis of 2008, everything collapsed. Even though I'd been conservative, even though I'd followed all the rules, my clients lost most of their money. Pension funds, retirement accounts, college savings, gone. I couldn't live with that responsibility. But wasn't that the market's fault, not yours? Legally, yes. Morally, I'd convinced people to trust me with their life savings, and I failed them. The lawsuits came next. By 2009, everything was gone. My firm, my reputation, my personal wealth. I was 54 years old with no prospects in an industry that had branded me as part of the problem. The studio was completely quiet, understanding they were witnessing someone's confession of profound personal loss. How did you end up at Walmart? I needed a job, any job. Walmart was hiring greeters, it had health benefits, and it was honest work. I thought it would be temporary just until I figured out what to do next. But you stayed for 20 years. Dorothy smiled for the first time since starting her story. I stayed because I discovered something I'd never found in finance: peace. Every day I help people, not people with millions to invest, just regular families trying to get through their week. Mrs. Rodriguez bringing her grandchildren shopping, Mr. Kim picking up medicine for his wife, college students stretching food budgets, real people with real needs. Jimmy leaned forward. Dorothy, do you ever miss the old life? The money, the prestige? I miss feeling like I was good at something important. But I've learned that helping someone find the pharmacy or remembering that a customer's daughter just had a baby, that's important too, maybe more important than I ever realized. Jimmy reached behind his chair and pulled out a tablet. Dorothy, we did some research before tonight. We found articles about you from the 1990s. He showed her a Wall Street Journal headline from 1997, Dorothy Chen, the quiet genius of conservative growth investing. This article calls you one of the most successful portfolio managers of the decade. It says your clients averaged 12% annual returns with minimal risk. Dorothy looked stunned. You found that? We did, and we reached out to some people from your past. Listen to this from Robert Martinez, former head of the Teachers Pension Fund. Dorothy Chen was the most ethical, most competent money manager I ever worked with. What happened to her in 2008 was a tragedy of market forces, not personal failure. The financial industry lost one of its best when it lost Dorothy. Jimmy continued from Sarah Williams, former client. Dorothy managed my family's investments for 12 years. When everything collapsed in 2008, she called every client personally to apologize and explain what had happened. Most managers disappeared. Dorothy took responsibility, even though it wasn't her fault. Dorothy's eyes filled with tears. They remember that. They do. In fact, Dorothy, there's something else. The financial community wants to honor you. There's going to be an award ceremony for ethical investment professionals. They want to give you a Lifetime Achievement Award. Dorothy sat in stunned silence. Oh, there's more, Jimmy said. Some of your former clients want to do something special. They've created the Dorothy Chen Financial Literacy Foundation, teaching working families about money management, budgeting, and investing. They want you to help design the curriculum. A foundation in my name? Yes, because Dorothy, what you've done, going from managing hundreds of millions to helping customers at Walmart with the same dignity and care, that shows character that Wall Street desperately needs to remember. Jimmy stood and addressed the audience. This woman represents everything that's right about both hard work and personal integrity. She's shown that worth isn't measured by the size of your portfolio, but by the size of your heart. He turned back to Dorothy. You said you missed feeling like you were good at something important. Dorothy, you've been good at something important every single day for 20 years. You've been good at treating people with dignity, at making everyone feel welcome, at showing that every job can be done with pride. As the audience erupted in sustained applause, Dorothy covered her face with her hands, overwhelmed by the recognition and the knowledge that her story mattered. I don't know what to say, she whispered. I just tried to do my job well. And that, Jimmy said, sitting back down beside her, is exactly what makes you extraordinary. The episode that aired became one of the most discussed Tonight Show segments of the year, sparking conversations about financial ethics, the dignity of all work, and the resilience of the human spirit. Dorothy's story inspired dozens of former Wall Street professionals to reach out, many sharing similar experiences of loss and reinvention. The Dorothy Chen Financial Literacy Foundation became a reality, teaching thousands of working families the money management skills that could help them weather future economic storms. Dorothy continued working at Walmart 3 days a week while developing curriculum for the foundation, discovering that her greatest professional achievement wasn't managing $800 million or 0 cents. It was using her expertise to help people who needed it most. At 71, Dorothy still believes that every person deserves to be treated with dignity, still greets customers with genuine warmth, and still wears her Walmart name tag with pride, a reminder that true success isn't about how far you rise, but how gracefully you handle the fall and what you build from where you land. Because sometimes the most profound lessons come not from those who never fail, but from those who lose everything and discover that their real value was never in what they managed, but in who they are when everything else is stripped away.